Hello, this is Gumshoe Graham going live from Florida. And today I'm just going to give you a few bits and pieces about what I think. To start, I want to mention just ideas that pop into my head as I'm doing house errands. I thought about it. How Nicole was suggesting to the police how odd she thought it was that Chris Watts had never lit a fire before. You know how they always say when you're guilty of something, you always obsess on it. It becomes like something that you're trying to hide, especially if you're a narcissist, but it leaks out. Well, that's what I'm thinking. Why was Nicole Kessinger so confused and mystified of why Chris Watts did not know how to light a fire? They went camping that night at the sand dunes, and that's when she noticed that he had no fire lighting skills. But I'm going to suggest to you that my kind of just the kind of thinking that's thinking out of the box, wondering why she went on and on about that in the law enforcement interview. This is just an idea. It's just a piece that I'd want to share with you, that I think she went on and on about him not having the capability or the experience on lighting fires. Because remember the gas can that he brought with him the morning of August 13th? He loaded a gas can into his truck. Well, guess what? You'd have to know how to light a fire. And I'm wondering if that was her guilty conscience coming out to law enforcement saying that she knew that he had an idea of lighting a fire, but just where was that fire? So that's just a tidbit that I was thinking about. And I want to share with you that I believe that her ability to stranglehold him wasn't just a natural ability, that she used every bit of charm that she could muster up. And I think you all will agree that their relationship that started so fast and furious that they were having sex within a day, maybe. I mean, that's what it seems like. And not only were they having sex in a day, they were having sex many times a day in many different positions and in many different ways that Chris had never experienced by the way he has suggested. And by the text messages and by the kind of pictures that NK was sending him, you can for sure understand that this guy was mesmerized. He was mesmerized to the point that obviously he couldn't see clear. It was what all narcissists do, is they glorify people at the beginning of the relationships. And I'm saying this in both examples, that yes, I think Nicole glorified him to an extreme and vice versa. He glorified her to an extreme. So long story short, I think that with all the sex that was going on in this particular relationship, so fast and furious, and her teaching him how to do things like light fires and that kind of stuff, had a prolonged and serious effect on his ability to keep boundaries. So with that said, I want to say to you that I am looking at some other things about the actual interview or the experiences that they had during those 5 to 6 weeks. And my biggest concern to date is if both parties, meaning Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts, suggested to the law enforcement officials that were interviewing them that they had been living together for that 5 to 6 week period while Shanann and the girls were in North Carolina. So I got the biggest question mark, and I haven't heard this yet, but I'm sure I will. I want to know why, if someone confesses to murder and or gets charged with murder, then why wasn't it that the police and all the law enforcement official agencies involved go to the residency that the murderer was partaking in at the time of the murder? Yes, he came home when Shanann came home from North Carolina, but prior to that, all his time except 1 or 2 nights was spent at Nicole Kessinger's. So I am asking for anyone's opinion and anyone's ideas of why the police didn't go over to Nicole's house, or maybe we just don't know that they did, and ransack her apartment. When I say ransack, go through it with a, fine-tooth comb, looking for anything that would suggest foul play, or foul play as far as developing plans. What if they had written things down? What if they had bought things that were necessary? What if Nicole had on her charge cards the gasoline that was being packed into Chris's car that night? What if Nicole had other identifiable things that were taken into evidence that were purchased or supplied by her? We never heard any of this. So I am saying, and I'm giving the weirdest idea or the weirdest suggestion, but when Jeffrey Dahmer was accused and charged with murder, and then obviously found guilty of many murders, they ransacked his apartment. So I'm asking the general populace, why wouldn't they have ransacked Nicole Kessinger's apartment? Why did they deem that unnecessary? I don't care if Chris at that point hadn't said that he wasn't going to trial. So they were preparing for trial. At the point of, in August, all of those agents that were involved with the discovery process were preparing for trial. So I'm asking, and I guess someone else can ask this officially, why wasn't Nicole Kessinger's apartment, her belongings, her paper trails, and all of those things sequestered, subpoenaed, and whatnot? Thank you very much. It's a beautiful day in Florida, but I had to get that off my mind because those little bits and pieces some seem big, some seem little. Have a great day, and like and subscribe, And in the future, I'm going to suggest that if people are collecting money when they do these videos on YouTube, when they're collecting money, whatever they call it, super chat or PayPal or all the Patreon, I suggest that everyone takes that money that they collect from doing Shanann Rzucek and her children's videos and puts that in a fund for the Rzucek family. I suggest that I'm really, besides myself, watching people ching, 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 a ding-a-ling, getting money off the Rzuceks. And that's what it is. It's way out of control. So please, someone, as well as the other thoughts about the case, please think of a way that we can stop the craziness and having people prosper from the Rzucek's tragedy. Okay? Thank you very much. Like and subscribe and have a nice day.